affected when they are affected in the womb, when the fetal brain is affected by this wrong brain wiring or hyperexcitability of the brain, they are more affected than children who produce these symptoms after birth. Did you understand that? After birth, there's a certain tipping point. Now, for those children for whom this inattention, impulsivity and hyperactivity are the result of digital overexposure, that is, from the age of 6 months, sometimes mother will put the child in front of the television while she does her work because she has no nanny, she has no one else. Now what happens to the child is, a child in the first year must hear one voice very clearly. Whose voice? Mother's voice. Secondly, the other chap whom the mother introduces. Who's the other chap the mother introduces? The father. Then maybe the brother's voice and the sister's voice. Few other maybe grandparents. So for child's first year must have only those clear voices all day through, and those voices will teach the child love, discipline, toughness, softness. Did you understand that? That's all that a child should get for child to develop attention and for child to move in the heart. If parents don't give children heart time, child will flip to the mind to occupy the mind. So to add to that digital gadgets, iPad or tablet or smartphones, child says, okay, nobody is giving me heart, I'll manage. So child gives back what he got. What did he get? He got gadgets, he got, different toys. So he manages with his brain, and later he becomes a very selfish chap, isn't it? Non-relational. Where did he get that from? Parents didn't give him time, parents gave him gadgets. So you get a child whose heart is shrunk and brain is quite competent. Have you met children like that? You get the problem? So a problem for those children began with parents, teachers not having time. Parents not having time. So I often say, and this is medically true, the child knows the mother's heartbeat while in the womb. And it is known when the mother is emotionally happy, child is happy. It is communicated. There's 4D ultrasonic photography. Now what you do during pregnancy is 3D ultrasonics. 4D ultrasonic photography can capture the child's grimaces, smiles while the child is in the womb. So that clearly shows when the mother is happy, child is happy. When the mother is unhappy, child is unhappy. It is so strongly bonded and so strongly communicated. So when the child is born, if the mother breastfeeds, child bonds better. That is simple, everybody knows that. Now, when the mother takes the child and mother says goo and child says guh, and they together make the google.com. That's how attention comes. So mother gives attention, child grasps attention. So if the child doesn't get attention, can the child grasp attention? Obviously no. So in time it becomes inattention. So when so many voices come at them from the television or from digital gadgets, they are not attentive, they are entertained, confused, so many voices. Did you understand? How a child is hearing a lot of sounds, but not the kind of sounds that trains the child for character development and for focus. So when a child is digitally stimulated like this, and when they come to me, I can say this child has tipped over. That is, his brain chemistry, brain wiring has quite gone all right, because for a long period of time, wrong kinds of impulses have been training the child's brain. Did you understand? So I say this child has tipped over. We like to get children before that happens to help the parents. So this program is for awareness also. Please take our literature and give to friends Tomorrow morning we have a more detailed, longer program. If you have any friends, bring them tomorrow. You also can come again, but at least give a telephone call and tell them to come. Because if we can get the children when they are not digitally overdosed, it's easier to reverse the process. Did you understand that? So what is the digital overdose? How much of this kind of stuff stimulates a child? Now, I'll do some drawing now before I go to the next slide. Now, one of the easiest things to explain is, let's say this is the left side of the brain. You have the brain motor area, and a child's face and lips are represented there, hands, and the child's feet are represented there. So you can see about 40% of this area is face, lips, hands. So when the child is eating by himself, recognizing the grain of rice, the square-shaped carrot, and the triangular-shaped beetroot, and the rectangular-shaped gherkin or cucumber, I'm exaggerating, a child is recognizing and eating, child becomes brilliant. You give child unrecognizable junk food, mash it up, and somebody is feeding, and the child is watching iPad or tablet or some other monstrous thing on the screen, child is already becoming less intelligent. Did you understand that? So child eating by himself and being encouraged to eat. So food management is one of the earliest managements the child learns. And it's about the resources that the child is given at that age, isn't it? He manages the resources he gets well very early in life. That's what food management is. So I always say, always at the table, whatever age, always the same chair, same place, same time. And I plead with parents at least twice a day, morning and night, sit and eat with the child. If you can't morning, night you must. Did you understand that? And I always say chairs are for sitting, tables are for laying down things, and floor is for standing. So chairs are not for standing. And food is not for playing cricket, food is for eating. So you get the child into food management as early as possible. So at age 1.5, child is managing food. Then by age 2, 2.5, child is managing clothes. At least put the clothes in the proper place. Did you understand that? Then with the child's pastels and the child's paint things, what I say is make a shelf, make a cupboard, make a rack. If you don't have money for Ayya and Nangi, make at least one rack, they share a shelf. Get them to put back. At every stage, child manages what he can manage. If you understood that, give away. So child can manage food, child can manage play stuff, child can manage clothes to some extent. And especially for these children who are a little excitable, already impulsive and inattentive and hyperactive, from the time they come from school also, they must have a timetable. Not a rigorous timetable, it's in your head. So 2 o'clock they come home, maybe 2 o'clock you do something or someone does. Child must not come to an empty home. These children, particularly. There has to be someone who will receive the child with love. Then 3 o'clock, a little cricket. Cricket is a very good game, because you can take aim. Now father can take aim with the ball, pitch it on the leg stump, and teach the child the on drive, pitch it a little short on the off stump, and teach the child the square cut. What do you think? So cricket is a game that you can train a child very well. Football and rugby are a little bit more thug-like games, but it's also okay. Any game is better than cartoons. Did you understand that? Any game is better than cartoons. And children playing together is very good for these children. So they get over their self-centered ways. So very early when the child is feeding with his own hand, there's a lot of brain development happening. Did you understand that? Similarly, when you draw things on a piece of paper, say Archie draws something and the child draws over it and colors it, there's a lot of brain development happening. You just watch an iPad or tablet or television program, it's all passive receiving. It's not creative brain wiring. Did you understand that? He's just watching passively. There's no active response. And when you read a story, you imagine the story and the brain grows. When you see the story on a DVD or television, brain doesn't grow. Understood? When you read the story, or you read the story to the child, and when the child comes to an age of reading, every bit of reading and imagining grows brain. Understood? Then handwriting, writing with the hand, grows brain, because 40% of brain growth is involved in all this. Then real life is 3D. Digital life is flat screen 2D. Can you understand how much of brain dulling happens? Are you listening? Real life is 3D. So when the child is touching a building block, it's 3D. Doll, car, whatever. That is 3D life. Digital screen life is 2D life. It does a lot of brain dulling, brain non-development. So this is so, and I always say this, no child is born brilliant, children are trained brilliant. I want you to carry that slogan home and tell all your friends. No child is born brilliant but trained brilliant. Of course, children have a IQ potential. But if it's not developed, the child is not going to perform very much. So handwriting, drawing arts and crafts, cutting things are very important, and in our empathic learning center, we get them to dramatize also. So they see the story and they do a drama. Did you understand that? All this is to increase creative brain wiring rather than passive brain wiring. So 70% of the brain is wired and finished by the age of 5. So you have to take care which Montessori you send your child, which preschool you send your child. It must be a good, proper scientific place, isn't it? Then, at the age of 14, all brain circuits are edited to 50%. So if the child has only had digital exposure and repetitive stuff, digital games and cars and shooting birds and shooting whatever, that repetitive stuff, it's all cut down to 50%. And what does the child have in his brain circuits? Only repetitive thinking. What he watched someone else doing. But all little crafts from young age makes the child brilliant because he did it. Did you understand that? Now the problem in our time is parents are very, very busy. In days gone by, there was at least the grandparent who was not busy. Now the grandfather also has to go for Powerball. Grandmother has to go for aerobics or dog show or flower show. So what does the children get? Children get a digital nanny or a non-family member, isn't it? Non-family member who most of the time is interested in keeping the child quiet, keeping the child entertained, keeping the child occupied with something. This is not the way to grow children creatively. It's a sad thing. So now, in front of the motor cortex, this is where voluntary control is. So you know that if someone gets a left side stroke, speech goes and the right arm goes, isn't it? Because this brain controls this side. And in right-hand dominant people, speech center is in the left cortex. In front of this motor cortex is the frontal cortex. Frontal cortex is where you have empathy and planning. Planning your motor activity is in the frontal cortex. In front of the frontal cortex is the prefrontal cortex.